Hey, how are you guys? So today I want to talk about the differences that I'm aware of between the United States MLS and Portugal's multiple different sites. Let's just talk about Idealista. It just seems to be the go-to. So when I was a real estate agent in the United States, I have a license. I had a license in Connecticut, I had a license in California. First of all, we sit for our own tests, right? And I have to sit for a test and I have to pass the test. And so then I get my own license. That doesn't happen here, just so you guys know. And then, so anybody you sit and have dinner with can be an agent. They don't have to have had a background in that or taken a test. So when you're working with someone, make sure that they have that they've got some years behind them. The other thing it's important to know is that every single person in Portugal can look an Idealista. In the United States, it used to be that the MLS, when I was in the United States doing this, is only agents could be on the MLS. That was part of it, that we would pay to be part of the website, and only agents who had licenses could use it. And that's how you came to me in the United States, because I had the information you needed. Here, everybody has the same information. So whether you're looking at Idealista or I'm looking at Idealista, we all have the same information. So bear in mind when you're working with someone that they have the same information that you have. So don't think that you have to hire this guy because he has this information, and this guy has this information, and this guy has this, because it's not true. We all have the same information that we get on Idealista, and then we all have maybe some pocket listings, and that's true of everyone. But as a buyer's agent and as an independent, I reach out to my group of partners that I work with and I say, hey, here's what I'm looking for. And because they know I consistently am a buyer's agent, and I bring the money because I have the client, they tend to share their off-market properties with me, because I'm not really someone who lists houses. I'm really someone who sells the client the house. So they share with me. I'm not competing against them, which is why they're very generous with me on the off-market properties. So now we have predominantly 95% of everything on Idealista, and then maybe something 5% off market. So let's just focus on the 95%. Please know that your client has the information that you have. So if you go and you zoom through Idealista and you put together a favorites list, just send it off to your agent and to your buyer's agent. That's a great idea. But now that you're on these different sites, what's the problem is that in the United States with the MLS, there's a time frame that you can have your property on the MLS, and when it's sold, you have to remove it. Well, here that's not the case. So very often you can send me a list of like 5 favorites, and 4 of them have already been sold. But the agencies leave them online because they're great properties, and they'll get you to call them on those properties. So a lot of times what we see on Idealista and other sites isn't still available. The background on that can be a few things. Number one, they forgot. Number two, they have gone to down payment on the house. So they've taken the standard 20% on the house and signed that contract called CPCV. They've done that. But since they haven't gone to escritura, deed, they haven't taken it off the market, because there's a chance it could go back on the market. It barely happens. Why does it barely happen? Because once you give them your 20% on the CPCV, if you pull out, you lose your 20%. If they pull out, they have to pay the 20% back. And there's an industry idea that they also have to pay you the double because they've pulled out. My lawyer always says you're guaranteed the first 20%. The second 20%, you might have to go and get it with a lawyer. Either way. So there's really almost no reason to leave it on there. And the fair thing to do is have the word reserved or pending written on that piece of paper. But we don't always get that information. So sometimes we have a lot to go through in order to find what's really available. So doing the due diligence of going out and finding the properties for you sometimes is more difficult than you think and takes us longer, only because we're riff-rafting through all the stuff that's not available. So the MLS is a very clean, very a well-oiled wheel, where the rules and regulations here aren't the same. And so we're dealing with a lot of the unwritten rules of the things that agencies can and cannot do. And so it's very frustrating sometimes. So I just want you to know that there's frustration on our side with Idealista, there's frustration on your side with Idealista, and there's not much we can do to change it as we speak. I'm very sure the powers that be, the real estate powers that be, are working on it. It's just that I think that they're getting a lot of requests and having a hard time keeping up with all of them. So just know that if there's a delay on either side, it's just because we're working against a system that isn't as well oiled as the American MLS. That's a little plea from my side to have patience with all of us, because sometimes the information isn't as succinct as it is in the United States. And I think that you might find that in the industry here, that the real estate industry is a little bit wonky and the rules are a little bit wonky in comparison to the really hard and fast rules of the American MLS and the American system. So have patience, but that shouldn't prevent you from coming here, because it's a great place. When you get here, you'll find that some of the rules are a little wonky, but you'll figure them out, just like I figured it out, having done that for so many years now, and that we all kind of find our way through it, and you will too. So bear with Portugal, but don't let it stop you from coming here. It's a super cool place to be. So please call me. Let me walk you through the wonky aspects of it, take you to the straight and narrow of it, and we'll have fun along the way. So come to Cascais. You belong here.